the challenges people with ADHD face aren't due to lack of effort or willpower.
Do you ever feel like your brain is a browser with way too many tabs open? You want to focus, you try to stay on track, but somehow things just derail? Maybe you've been called lazy, unmotivated, or scatterbrained one too many times. You might even be brand new to an ADHD diagnosis and wondering, so what exactly is this thing?
So I assume you're here because you think that your brain works a little differently, or maybe a whole lot differently. You struggle to focus, you get easily distracted, or it seems like you cannot stick to plans no matter how hard you try. What if I told you what you've been experiencing isn't a flaw in your character, but a fundamental difference in how your brain is actually wired? So it's not you. It's just how your unique brain operates. In this video, I'll explain simply and clearly about ADHD. Whether you suspect you have it, are curious, or just newly diagnosed and very confused, you're all in the right place. So by the end, you'll understand ADHD a little bit better, and maybe even yourself and others in a whole new light. Hello! Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel, the ADHD Bunny Hole. I am Amphiba, and like many of you, I just got diagnosed with ADHD later in my adult life. To be honest, understanding my brain was quite a journey, and honestly, it was quite a roller coaster. I created this channel to share what I've learned, and I want to break down the complexities of ADHD, challenging misunderstandings, also empower us all with knowledge. This isn't about excuses, it's about understanding how our brains actually work. So let's dive into what ADHD really is. In this video, we'll divide it into 3 general sections with each respective subsections. We will first define ADHD in a simple, easy to understand terms, which is way beyond hyperactivity, like all of us knew. And second, understanding the different ways ADHD shows up and manifests in people. And third, last but not least, but the most important things to know about living with ADHD. So stay tuned. Oh, by the way, I don't want to torture my ADHD brain, so I just put the note down here in case you see me looking down. That means I'm looking down on my note, okay? I don't want to be an ableist to myself. Now, so what is ADHD? Simply put, ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, it's a real medical condition that affects how the brain develops and works. ADHD is recognized by medical professionals and scientists in the DSM-5, a widely used guide for understanding and diagnosing mental and brain-related conditions. Doctors and scientists have studied ADHD a whole lot in the past, and they've put together a guide in DSM-5, kind of like a detailed manual to understand and diagnose ADHD in a very clear ways. Because it is a medical condition, therefore, it's not just someone being a little hyper or having trouble paying attention sometimes. It involves ongoing challenges with paying attention, being overly active, and acting impulsively that makes everyday life challenging for people having ADHD. These aren't just personality traits. They're related to how the brain is actually wired very differently. Now, let's talk about ADHD in a different light or another way to understand it. ADHD as a neurodivergence. Think of it this way. Everyone's brain is wired a little differently, which means that not everyone's brain develops or functions in the same way. Think of it like different operating systems on computers. They all do similar things, but in their own unique way. Neurotypical is often used to describe brain functions that's considered as the standard or typical. Yet, for people with ADHD specifically, their brains process information and handle things like focus, and impulse control in a very unique way. This is sometimes called neurodivergence, just meaning a different way the brain functions. This includes conditions like ADHD, autism, dyslexia, and others. It's a normal variations, not a flaw. It's just a different, not a flaw. The important thing to remember about ADHD, it involves a real neurological differences that can lead to challenges in attention, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. So, ADHD is a form of neurodivergence. It's just one way brain can be wired and work. It's not about being normal or abnormal. It's also not about being better or worse. It's just different. Recognizing ADHD as neurodivergence helps us understand the challenges people with ADHD face aren't due to lack of effort or willpower. Also, it's not about someone not trying hard enough. It's about how their brain is naturally set up to operate. It is a fundamental difference in how their brains process informations and navigate the whole world. Okay, now it is time for us to really understand how ADHD can manifest or shows up in people. But one thing that you should underscore or highlight here is that ADHD isn't a one-size-fits-all condition. Alright? Now, the core symptoms of inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity can manifest in various ways. Let's break down the different presentation and how ADHD can look across the lifespan and gender. Alright, let's get into the first presentation, which is the primarily hyperactive impulsive presentations. Let's get into how this presentation entails. This presentation is primarily marked by excessive movement and acting without thinking. So individuals may frequently fidget or tap their hands or feet or squirm in their seat, and then often leave their seat in situations where staying seated is expected. Next, experience feelings of restlessness, and then having difficulty engaging in leisure activities quietly. Afterwards, often be described as being on the go or feeling driven by an internal motor. Tend to talk excessively, frequently blurt out answers before questions have been completed. Usually this is commonly found in schools. Have trouble waiting their turn in conversations or activities. And last but not least, often interrupt or intrude on others. Alright, now the second presentation, which is the primarily inattention. This presentation is mainly characterized by difficulties with focus and concentrations. Therefore, individuals may frequently struggle to pay close attention to details or make careless mistakes in tasks. Have trouble sustaining attention during activities, whether it's school, work, or even leisure. Often seem not to listen when directly spoken to. And find it hard to follow through on instructions and frequently fail to complete tasks. Experience significant difficulty organizing tasks and activities. Tend to avoid or strongly dislike tasks that require sustained mental effort. And often lose things that are necessary for tasks or daily life. Be easily distracted by things happening around them. And last but not least, tend to be very forgetful in daily routines. Last but not least, we have the combined presentations, which is, as the name suggests, combination of both presentation. This presentation is diagnosed when an individual meets the criteria for both the primarily inattentive and the primarily hyperactive impulsive presentations. This means they experience a significant combination of both sets of symptoms. Alright, now it's time to see how ADHD manifests across lifespan and genders. ADHD can look quite different in adults compared to children. While children may exhibit more overt hyperactivity like running and climbing, adults might experience it as an internal restlessness or difficulty relaxing, or sometimes they just have way too many anxiety in their head. Inattention in children might be seen as difficulty staying focused on homework, whereas in adults, it could manifest as trouble with organization time management, and following through on work tasks or household responsibilities. Impulsivity in children might involve grabbing toys or interrupting games, while in adults, it could show up as impulsive spending, career changes, or relationship difficulties. Let's see how ADHD manifests differently between men and women. While the core symptoms are still the same, ADHD can sometimes present differently and be perceived differently in men and women. Historically, hyperactivity in boys has been more readily recognized, leading to earlier diagnosis. In women, inattentive symptoms might be more prominent and they may develop more sophisticated masking strategies to hide their difficulties, leading to underdiagnosis or later diagnosis, me included, to be honest. Societal expectations and gender roles can also influence how ADHD symptoms are expressed or interpreted. Therefore, understanding different presentations and how ADHD can evolve across life and manifest differently in genders is very crucial to accurate identification and support for a better future for all of us, for the society, because to be honest, I quoted this from Jessica McCabe of How to ADHD. I live in the future where the world is ADHD friendly. On the last but the most important section of this video is the important things to know about living with ADHD. There are some really crucial things to understand about what it's like to live with ADHD that often get overlooked. One of the biggest hurdles for people with ADHD is dealing with misunderstandings and negative assumptions. It is a very common and hurtful mistake to label people with ADHD as lazy, unmotivated, disorganized, or even intentionally disruptive. The truth is, their brain, or even our brain, I see you, works differently, making focus and self-control a whole new level of real challenge. These aren't excuses, of course. It's simply how their brains or our brains are wired. The difficulties someone with ADHD faces aren't because they don't want to succeed or aren't trying hard enough. Fun fact, people with ADHD tried 10 times or even 20 times harder than the common neurotypical people or neurotypical brains. Understanding this is really key difference to be supportive to your own self and people around you who have ADHD. Beyond just lazy labels, there are other myths about ADHD. It's not just hyper young boys, but adults have it too. And it can look like inner restlessness or disorganization. The reality is that ADHD affects all ages and genders, and it's not something most people simply outgrow. It can present in many different ways, including primarily inattentive types who might seem quiet or spacey rather than hyperactive. It's also a lifelong condition for many, although the way it manifests can change over time. Consequently, because of how ADHD affects focus, organization, and impulse controls, ADHD can make everything harder in the world. Like an example, first, for work or school. For many with ADHD, staying on task, managing time effectively, meeting deadlines, and organizing work or study materials can be a daily struggle. This isn't due to a lack of intelligence or effort, but rather the challenges in regulating attention and executive functions. Second, in relationships, ADHD can also impact how individuals connect with others. Difficulties with listening, interrupting, forgetfulness, and emotional regulation can sometimes lead to misunderstandings or frustrations in relationship with family, friends, or partners. Last but not least, with emotions. Many people with ADHD experience heightened emotional sensitivity and can have more intense emotional reactions. They might also struggle with managing frustration and have a higher likelihood of experiencing anxiety or depression alongside their ADHD. Therefore, Understanding these misconceptions and the real impact on daily life helps us to be more empathetic towards ourselves or the people who have ADHD and provide better support for individuals with ADHD, including self-compassion and understanding towards our own neurodivergent brains. We will get into why ADHDers do masking. Now, the concept of ADHD masking. So remember, ADHD is a real difference of how our brain works, which means it can make life very challenging in many various ways. Understanding this helps us to be more compassionate and understanding and supportive, to be less judgmental towards our own selves and the people around us. Because all of the tendency that I've already explained earlier in the previous core symptoms or impact on daily life, we tend to fake ourselves by imitating others or just completely faking ourselves by adapting. Actually, it's not adapting, it's more like faking ourselves, mask who we really are to be accepted in the neurotypical way or in the general society. Because I quoted this from Jessica McCabe from How to ADHD, the best way that neurodivergent people in public are not even accepted, we are tolerated at best. It's very painful and hurtful, to be honest, but yeah, that's the main struggle living with ADHD. So I hope this video has given you a clear understanding what ADHD really is. If you found that this information helpful and want to learn more about living with ADHD as an adult, including practical strategies, personal experiences, and more in-depth discussions on specific challenges, I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel. We're building a very supportive community here where we can all learn and grow together. Understanding ADHD is the very first step towards our self-awareness and finding effective ways to navigate life. If you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover in future videos, please do leave them in the comment box below. I read them and your feedback really helps us to grow our YouTube channel, the ADHD Bunny Hole here. So thank you so much for watching. Take care and I look forward to connecting with you in the next video. Bye bye!